not just day after day, but maybe longer than a week. If your unwashed hair has begun to start making dreads or have knots in it, or if you just can't shake the funk and the exhaustion, then this is the stage for you. And I find so many people turn back at this stage because they think, I'll wait till I have energy. I'll wait till I have some space, some time. But if this is you and you're struggling with time and energy, then that's okay. We can help you with that. And I'm going to show you a plan that you're going to want to hone in on here. So if that feels like you, just put time and energy in the comments. So from there, once you get time and energy, the next stage is something we call the communicate stage. Now, this is what we focused on in yesterday's video. This is where you are becoming what we call a chaos wrangler. Now, at this stage, you're starting to feel like you have some space to breathe. You may even wake up in the morning and feel like, all right, I can tackle this. But then as soon as one thing happens, it feels like the whole day goes to pots, right? So your mission at this stage really is getting everyone calm and diffusing situations so they're just a blip in the day and they don't derail the entire day. It's so that you know exactly what to say and do so that it's just a little bump in the road. It's not something that completely knocks you to your feet or off your feet. So if you've ever had to act like a drill sergeant just to get your kids to listen, if you've ever had your kids melting down in aisle 3 of Target with 1,000 eyes on you, if you've ever missed out on days out just because you know it'd be easier to just stay in, then creating an in-the-moment plan is the perfect step for you. So you can just put in the moment. Now, this is what we covered yesterday, right? And there's a reason for that because that's what most people ask us for. Now, they may be struggling with some time and energy. They may be struggling with their own ability to remain calm, but an in-the-moment plan can still help with those things. So many of our members start right here. Right? And I see Vicky saying, this is where I'm at. Delia saying, this is where I am. Awesome. So I love that you guys are already identifying with what stage you're at. And we actually have ways to help you identify that even more inside of our full program. But what I love is I don't see anyone comparing themselves and saying, oh no, I'm at Ride the Storm. Oh, they're at stage 3. They're ahead of me. No, you are exactly where you are meant to be. So once you are able to diffuse in the moment, now you move on to the next stage where you are starting to plan. And in this stage, we call you a problem-solving partner. So at this stage, this is where you're starting to be able to diffuse the situation quickly and you're able to kind of handle lots of different fires. But you can't really seem to reduce how often they're happening, or it feels like you're going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. So your mission in this stage really is to start getting to the root of the problem so that you can get ahead of it before it ever starts. So if you've ever felt like you're running around like a headless chicken, constantly putting out fires, or you're trying to referee 3 separate wrestling matches at the same time, or if you've tried consequences, reward charts, boundaries, rules, and none of them are working to avoid the chaos that's happening in your family, then a head of the moment plan is exactly what you need. So, and I see some people saying I'm in between 2 and 3, which is totally normal, right? So this says get ahead of the chaos. Get ahead of the chaos. So just put ahead of the moment in the comments if you feel like this is the stage you're at. All right. Lindsay K, one of our members, saying she's ahead of the moment. Lindsay, in the comments, if you can say where you were when you first started, that would be amazing. Awesome. Yeah, Maya saying I'm at ahead of the moment. Kylie, ahead of the moment. Awesome. I love that. All right, so let's move to the next stage. So the next stage is a stage that we call a team builder. Now, this is where I believe most of the parenting programs begin. And most of the parenting programs tell you how to have best case scenario, how to have the best family, the best connection, a family that listens to each other, a family that talks to each other. But if you've skipped these stages, this is going to be near impossible to access. So at this stage, this is where you're able to solve single struggles that come up, but you actually want your whole family to work. So everything's not falling on your shoulders. Your mission at this stage is really to get systems in place that help your family thrive. And it's to help make sure that each family member is actually understood. And ultimately, you're redefining success for your family. Now, if you've ever felt like you would ask your kids to pick something up, but you know you'd end up spending so much time nagging and prodding them that you'd end up doing it yourself, or if you've ever felt like you just want to get out the door in the morning without feeling like an air traffic controller at the airport, or you've wondered how you would help your teen feel like he had any chance of a successful future, then the Family Success Plan is the plan that you need. And if that's you, just put FSP, Family Success Plan. All right. So the next stage is a really awesome one. I love this stage so much. And you could hear Melissa was at this stage here. This is the advocate stage. And in the advocate stage, we call you a fierce advocate, you and your kid. Now at this stage, your family is kind of working, right? You have systems in place. Your family works fine when you're at home, but it's getting grandparents and teachers and in-laws on board. And so your mission at this stage is to learn how to communicate in a way that others can hear you and listen, so that you can actually advocate not just for your children's needs, but for your needs as well. So if you've ever ended up in tears at an IEP meeting because yet again someone's blaming your kid for everything that happened, or you just like an afternoon to yourself but your kid's on the floor refusing to go to grandma's because she doesn't let him eat Cheerios for dinner, then advocacy plan is the plan you need. Now the final stage is one that not many people talk about. Matter of fact, I think in our society, I think that women are actually discouraged from ever reaching this stage. We're told that if we want to go to this stage, that something must be wrong with us as parents, that you want one or the other. You can't be a good mom or a good parent and also want something else. You're selfish if you do that. But I don't believe that. I believe that in the Conquer and Thrive stage, this is where your family life is working. But beyond working, everyone in your family is starting to look at what's possible. You're starting to go beyond the status quo. And you're saying, well, if we can think out of the box to solve our problems, how else can we think outside the box? So your mission at this stage is to figure out what lights you up and start planning out time for you to follow your own dreams again. So if you've ever wondered who you are anymore, or what you even want for yourself outside of being a parent, or if you've been wondering if you could do anything beyond being a parent, or you could go back to work, or you could volunteer somewhere, right? At this stage, this is where you're starting to dream again. But not just you, your kids are starting to dream. And it's where you start to find out what lights you up. And you start to find equilibrium in your life that allows you to create a life you love. So at this stage, what you need is a Conquer and Thrive plan. And for many of you, this is going to feel impossible, okay? This is going to feel impossible. So I want you to come back here to ride the storm and know that it's a step-by-step journey. Because just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I know that there is a way to get to Australia because I can see that Kylie is on this call. So I know there's a way I can get there. I can't see the road to get there, but I know there's a way to get there. So if you're just traveling from state to state right now and you can't see Going to another continent, that's okay. Stay right where you are, right? And eventually you will progress in the stages exactly in your time frame. So I'd love to know, now that we've gone through the stages, ride the storm, getting time and energy, diffusing struggles in the moment, being able to get ahead of the chaos before it ever happens, having an entire family that just works with systems and processes where the family just it's just chugging along and you actually have time and enjoy each other as a family and understand each other. Advocate where you're advocating and your kids are advocating for themselves, or Conquer and Thrive where you're starting to look beyond just your family. What stage would you say that you fall into? Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually zoom in and I am going to show you what each of these stages look like. And we're going to show you how to apply the framework to each of these stages. Because in video 1, we introduced you to our Calm the Chaos framework, right? It's not one trick, one hack, one book, right? It's the combination of best practices and best research put together in a way that it's consumable and simple and easy to follow. And so it's not that you have to be able to do all this at once. It's that you need these 4 key ingredients. You need to have you at the center as the linchpin. You need connection and acceptance. You need a deep understanding of each other. And you need empowerment, out-of-the-box solutions that empower both you and your child to problem solve and self-regulate. And all of our plans for every single stage is made up of those 4 ingredients. So how about let's have a look at what this looks like. Now, it looks kind of complicated, which is why I've covered up a lot of it, right? Now, it's taking us a long time to get to this stage. We have an entire team of experts behind us. Our team is made up, I'm actually really proud of our team. We have got a team. Most of our team members are out of the box themselves. They are moms. I think we have a couple dads on our team, but the majority of them are parents of out of the box kids themselves. And beyond that, though, the amount of expertise that our team has is pretty phenomenal. We have teachers, psychologists, researchers, linguists, data analysis. We have so many different expertise here in our community and here in our team that have helped us develop this roadmap. We've worked with over 5,000 families over the last 3 years, and we've seen where they get stuck along their roadmap, where they need help, where they needed us to create a bridge. We've been moving pieces around until we got it right? And the good news is that we've made it so that it's not as complicated as what you might see here, right? So we're going to break it down, and all you have to focus on is just the one step right in front of you, all right? So we're going to go into the Breathe or Ride the Storm plan. So the Ride the Storm plan is made up of 4 parts. You, connect, understand, empower. All the plans are. So for you, this is where you're going to use that stop, breathe, anchor that we talked about earlier this week. For connection, you're going to really be focusing on moments of safety, that 5-to-1 moments of safety. For understanding, you're really focusing on just this idea of iceberg theory, an understanding that there is something under the surface. You don't have to solve it yet. And then finally, for empowerment, you're empowering yourself to find a next step. So I've written on here, set a timer. This is something unique to our community that was actually developed by one of our past coaches that she used when she was younger. She taught it to us, and it has become a core piece of our program. And this is where you actually, instead of venting, you're able to set a timer, have someone hold space for you, and find a next step. This has been instrumental in helping so many people when they are in their worst places possible. So we do have some examples of some Ride the Storm plans. So I'd love to share some of those. Here we go. Here's some examples of tons of different Ride the Storm plans from our different community members. And just some examples is Amanda Warren used to use these posters and these plans as a way to anchor herself. She actually kept them in her food pantry because that's where she would hide and when she was having a really hard time. And so she kept the posters in there and she would ground herself and anchor herself when she was feeling overwhelmed. Now, Kylie, who's here and now a team member, used to use timed body scans to get out of overwhelm. Yeah, these are not going to be legible. Don't worry about that so much. What I want you to see is that they've created a plan just for them, unique to them. And I'm giving you some examples, okay? So focus more on the idea here. Write down the notes of what you need to keep moving forward. All right. Okay. All right, so we're going to come back to the shift phase. All right, so in the shift phase, so if we can come back to the doodles, and I can post this already filled into the group, okay? We will just do your best as we go, right? If I zoom in, I don't think it's going to work. Do you want me to try? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work for me to zoom in. Instead, take your notes the best you can, and we will post the doodle for you, okay? We've got you, friends. Don't worry. We will not leave you hanging. We see you, and we hear you. All right, see right there, that's us problem solving together, right? Okay, so in the shift phase where you're getting more time and energy, we actually have a very unique plan here. What we did with time and energy is we looked at our most successful students that were having the most progress quickest, right? And so what we did is we discovered that there were actually 5 things that they were doing on a regular basis. And so we looked at how does that fit into UQ. And so for the U piece, there's 2 pieces. This is where they're shifting their thoughts and beliefs on a regular basis. They're prioritizing what's most important to them. Then in Connect, they are connecting with one human. It doesn't even have to be their kids. It could be posting in a group. Then for Understand, this one is vital. It's understanding your own needs. What are some things that actually increase your energy? What are some things that allow you to gain time by adding in boost? And what can you remove to remove drains? So an example of this is when we ran this workshop last time and we taught boost and drains, we actually had people that were saving 2, 3, 4 hours a day just by removing the scroll of Facebook, just by removing the reading of the news over and over again, just by removing the checking of email multiple times a day, just by removing worry and stress. People were able to add more time in their day. Now, the next piece for Empower here is this is where we want you to activate your body. We want you to empower yourself by moving your body, giving your body what it needs, and learning how to develop habits one baby step at a time so that you can actually do it every single day. We actually have people who have done this Spark plan for over 600 days. Over 600 days in a row. So I think we have some examples of people in their Spark plans. They actually post these in our group every single day. So these are the ones that are actually filled out, ready to go, but we have some that were just posted in the group today, just in text-based. This is what I'm doing for my Spark. Now, Spark is shift, prioritize, activate, recharge, and connect. And you're picking one thing. So you might see that and say, I have no time to do any of this. But we're looking at 1 minute a piece to build it. 1 minute a piece, right? Stopping and doing a thought swap. Prioritizing, what's the most important thing I can do today? Activating, how can I move more today than I moved yesterday? Recharge, what can I do that's going to recharge my energy? Connect, who can I talk to that's going to recharge me and help me feel like a human today? Okay, so now that we have our Spark plan, I'd like to move on to our in the moment plan. Now in the communicate stage, we covered this in depth yesterday, right? We did an entire 90-minute training just on your in the moment plan. And that was still a high level of in the moment plan, right? So we cover all of these in baby steps because we believe that as busy parents, you don't need more information. You really just need it kind of broken down so that you can do one tiny piece at a time, right? So for the in the moment, what you need here is an in the moment plan to diffuse the situation. Now there's 4 key pieces here. The first one is thought swaps. So being able to swap those negative thoughts like always and never to the other one. So for here, maybe you're swapping Judgy McJudgerson for Want Want Warrior, or maybe you're swapping Sir Thinks a Lot with Perspective Pete, PJ Comfy Pants with Elastica. I mean, I could just go on and on, right? Cyclone and DJ Breakdown. So you're picking a thought swap that really is going to help you be able to go into this situation as well. All right. So the next piece is connection. So for connection, we talked about this in video 2. This is about getting closer and using those validating scripts instead of trying to have conversations, but really just learning what scripts are actually calming and soothing in the moment. Now the next one is understand, and we introduced you to this idea of the behavior funnel yesterday. And this is where we start to really look at what are our automatic response systems. Do we go into fight, flight, or freeze? What do our kids do? Are we in at odds with each other? Maybe you go into freeze and they go into fight, or they go into freeze and you go into fight, and so you're at odds. This is where you're understanding what's happening when the bomb is going off, right? And so it's just a quick assessment of those different pieces. And then for empowerment, this is where you are really looking at creating that 1-1-1. Like, what can you say that's going to validate your child and their emotions? What can you provide that is going to allow them a break? What can you do to move everyone to safety? So those are some of the things that happen in this 1-1-1. They're all unique to each person. So we've got some examples of some in the moment plans, if we can share those as well. So a couple of examples. Now again, they're all different. Everyone's got different ones. You can see that some are written out on their own. And you can see first I'm going to stop, breathe, anchor, and then I'm going to shift, right? It's not about me. They're having a hard time. I'm going to say, I see you're struggling. I'm here and you're safe. And then I'm not going to say, stop acting like this, and I'm not going to give them a consequence. So she's reminding herself, don't do this in the moment. So her do is to get closer, sit down, get on their level, be present, take a break. I'm not going to get so close that I forget my own need for calm. Right? So she's reminding herself in the moment, because instinctually in the moment, you're not going to remember these things. So you have to create that plan ahead of time. Provide. I'm going to provide quiet space, a snuggle. I'm going to listen and provide time. I am not going to jump into problem solving. And then I'm going to skill build out of the moment. Right? So that's a really great broken down in the moment plan. And you can see that they're different for everyone. Don't worry about trying to read them. I just want to show you what these look like for different people. One of our members, Alice, made an in the moment plan for her son's explosions. And then Amber made a plan for when her aunt was going to be taking care of her child. So you can actually use these plans to then give to someone like a babysitter or a grandparent or something like that. All right, so let's move to ahead of the moment. All right, scale of 1 to 10, how much are you enjoying getting to see these different types of plans and the pieces that make them up? I'd just love to know. Want to see how this is landing with you guys. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Awesome. I know it's a lot. I'm trying to show you the whole roadmap. Okay, awesome. All right, Sona says, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Okay, just come back, watch the replay. Okay, so you guys are quiet because you're just soaking it in. I love that. Okay, I'll take it. All right, so getting ahead of the chaos. For this one, what you really want is you want an ahead of the moment plan. So we kind of introduced this to you yesterday, this number one biggest chaos causer. We did it so that you wouldn't try to be solving all the things yesterday in an introduction to this framework. But really there is a system for figuring out your chaos causer. So you actually are going to be looking at what is the number one chaos causer, the domino that's going to make the biggest ripple effect in your family. And we show you how to do that and teach you how to do that. But that's what you want to do here is just choose one. And then for connection, you're actually building that connection out of the moment. And so that sounds a little like, wait, what? Right? But what you're doing here is this is where you're starting to notice things that are going well, because as you start to notice the things that are going well, then you're going to start to see more and more of that. What you focus on grows. And so the more that you can start to notice wins in your family, things to celebrate in your family, you can start to have celebration huddles with your family so that they don't think that a huddle only happens when there's a problem, right? Otherwise they're going to run away and go to the other room. So it's all about noticing those small good things. Now, the next one, this one is incredibly unique to just our program. It's something that I developed after learning a lot about behavior science. So this is spiraling out behavior, not using the old antecedent behavior and consequence method. There's a lot of science behind that, but I've also seen after working with my own kid, after working in the classroom, and after working with 5,000 families, that doesn't always work. What happens is you end up, there's so much room for error and there's so much room for assumptions to happen. And so what we do here is you start to spiral it out so that you can actually pinpoint the tipping point, the place where you actually can put an ahead of the moment plan so that it keeps it from spiraling even further. So this is where you're starting to identify what are some triggers that are causing it to kind of blow up even bigger. And so once you have this information, well, now your kids are ready to actually problem solve with you. How many of you have ever tried to problem solve with your kids, but you're still riding the storm? And they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, it's because they're not ready yet. They don't have that built positive interaction, that built trust, that built safety in. And so it's hard for them to actually jump to this like problem solving stage. And same for you. You've got all your thoughts and feelings about the behavior as well. And so once you're at this stage, you can remove assumptions, you can remove blame and shame, and you can start creating plans together that don't just work for one person, but they work for both. And it's not about compromising. It's not about letting your kids walk all over you. It's about saying, these are my concerns. These are my concerns. Okay, I hear your concerns. Okay, I hear your concerns, right? And this can even be done if your kids don't have language. We have lots of people that have used this even with nonverbal children. You heard from Anna yesterday, who was making ahead of the moment plans with her child as well. We have Kelly, who has a nonverbal teenager who is autistic, and they've been using ahead of the moment plans. They just use pictures and they move and they do things like that. So there's different ways. Your child is already communicating with you. They're just not using their words, right? So this is problem solving huddles and creating a plan together. So some examples, if we can share some examples of our ahead of the moment plan. I think we've got all different ones. So you can see here, we've got Tilly May's morning chart. We've got an ahead of the moment plan for when we need to stop playing and leave in the car. We've got an ahead of the moment plan for their plan for doing an activity. We've got another plan for electronics. And so they've worked through these together. Do you see how they all look different? They all have different steps based on their unique child, based on what they've already learned. And so another example of this is Gullicully, who's now on our team. She went through our program, and when she did, she created an ahead of the moment plan that empowered both of her boys to be able to use scripts, because they were misinterpreting what each other were saying and what was happening, and they were ending up in like World War III every time she went to the bathroom. Okay. All right. Farah, you're asking if we can share these plans. I have a feeling that we can take these pictures and post them in the group. I don't have.
We're gonna need to get permission to do that.
We do have to get permission from these families. We want to make sure. So, but I do believe we got permission before we even put them in. Yep. But we'll double check.
We can't promise it right this second.
Yes. Okay. So I'm getting told. We just want to make sure that all of these people have given permission for them to be inside the group as well. So the next stage. All right. The next stage is creating your family team. So the build stage. So this is a family success plan. And this family success plan actually turns out to end up being like this living, breathing document. A lot of our members will put it in a binder. They will hand it to a family member for their first vacation away from the home without their kids. They'll hand it to their spouse. They'll hand it to the babysitter and say, here's how our family works. It's pretty phenomenal when you have something like that. So one of the first things that we really do here is we start to look at what's called struggles to superpowers. And we do this for each member of the family. So we're starting to look at what most people see as a struggle is actually the superpower for this person in the family. So maybe one child is has incredibly rigid thinking, right? And that could be seen as a struggle. But on the flip side of that, because they have rigid thinking, they are also really good at making plans. They are really good at helping you stay on track for what you're supposed to do for the day. Does that make sense? Right? So it's not just looking at, so often when we get here, and I see this in other places, it's about praise the good and ignore the bad. That's not what this is. This is, think of Hulk,